So thank you very much for being here for the third unit of the first module on LiveSeeding training. This is a unit that is dedicated to community seed banks, seed collection, management, and exchange. It's a session that aims to build participants' capacity to manage community seed banks, seed diversity, and strengthen agricultural resilience to climate change through dynamic seed management practices. This is a collective work by GLOBS, Rete Semeru Rally, and European Coordination Let's Liberate Diversity. The GLOBS and the Rete Semeru Rally are NGOs or of farmers working on seeds and sustainable agriculture. And both organizations, we are under the umbrella of European Coordination Let's Liberate Diversity, which is a European umbrella organization that is a robust network of 20 members of 19 countries. It's a seed savers, seed networks, organic farming organizations, and NGOs. So I thank very much my colleagues, Riccardo Bocci from Rete Semeru Rally, and Gabriele Maneo from European Coordination LLD. And additional to that is that the unit is co-funded also by the Erasmus project Diversity Path, which is that aims to foster inclusive communities by facilitating knowledge exchange between migrant communities and agricultural stakeholders. What we will do today, it will be a dynamic mixture of presentation, but also interaction between us and all you are following this session. It will be a presentation about main topics of community seed banks, an introduction, a presentation about a survey by Riccardo how it's community seed banks in Europe. It's a survey by the Diversity Food Project. We will speak about conservation and dynamic management of plant genetic resources, and also for farmers' rights linked to the concept of community seed banks. We will have a Mentimeter polls with led by Riccardo about some starting questions of who you are and what your expectations about the bottlenecks of the community seed banks involvement. And also we will have at the end a Mentimeter of how we want to continue work collectively. It's we want to have also a debate, a discussion with you about questions or ideas you will have to contribute. So our homework will be some kind of ideas sharing about how we will improve our community seed bank activity, or how we can also work together. And maybe at the end, we will have some conclusions and some useful links and materials to you. So we want very much not only to provide with some useful knowledge, but some updated information about how we are thinking about the community seed banks activity. And we want to give you some incentives to deal with the community seed bank world as a scientist or breeders, farmers, citizens, whatever you want to or you wish to deal with. So I will give the floor to my colleague Riccardo from Rete Semeru Rally to put some information about the Mentimeter. Riccardo.
Yeah, please. Thank you, Kostas. I'm Riccardo from Italy. I'm our headquarters close to Florence in Scandicci from Rete Semeru Rally. I will start with first questions that it's for you. We would like to understand what kind of participants you are, and you see here the code. You have to go to the menti.com website on your phone, on your laptop, on your computer, and then you can use the code, this code, and then you have to fill this survey saying if you are a farmer, a gardener, technicians, researcher, policymaker, citizen, breeders. So we have one researcher, 3, 1 breeder, 2 breeders, 1 farmer is coming. I mean, you are almost 100 persons, and we have here in the poll only 10 mapped. Another breeders, already 6. Gardener, 2 gardeners, 1 technicians, 1 policymakers, many scientists or researchers we have. Please don't be shy.
Sorry, Kostas and Riccardo. Okay.
Yeah, I think that participants, they are using menti.com.
Yeah, because some of them asked in the chat for the link, but I think someone just sent it to them.
Yeah, the link is
okay.
menti.com. You can see in the slide. You go to menti.com and then use the code 12871902.
Right.
Yeah. We have only 2 farmers as participants in our training today. It seems that we are mainly breeders and researchers. And now no one from, let's say, cities. No citizens. 4 technicians. Please, we would like to reach at least 80 persons. We are 50, 60, yeah. 10 people is still missing, I think. Yeah. So I think that we can move to the other question that we have for you. At the moment, we can see from the participants that we are almost science people, let's say, or breeders, could be private or public breeders, and researcher scientists from University of Academia, then some gardeners, and only two farmers and 2 policymakers. Thank you for compiling this first question. The second one that we have for you is to understand if you are already involved in community banks. Yeah. So that's very easy. You have to use the same link to menti.com and then to use another code that you see here in this slide. The code is 86907272. And please, you have only to answer yes or no to say if you are already involved in some way in activities done or related to community banks. Just also to understand your level of knowledge about community banks or practices. It seems that most of you are not involved in community banks. Some yes. Yeah, yes, it is increasing. Now we have 21 that are already involved and 37 that are not involved at all in community banks activities. But the yes people, they are increasing. Now there are 25.
Yeah. Riccardo, just a question from the chat. There is a question from Noemi Peter.
Yeah.
Is those a national seed bank owned as community seed bank?
The national gene banks, they are not considered as community seed banks. Yeah.
Good.
So if you are working with your national gene banks or gene banks of universities, they are not community seed banks. Yeah. Here, in this case, we would like to know if you are involved in this kind of social structure, social organizations dealing with seeds. Yeah, I think that we have almost all the participants. We have 45 no, 27 yes. So it means that most of you are not involved in their daily life with community banks activities. Yeah, thank you. And then we have for you a last question for the introduction that it's an open question, sorry. So we would like to ask you, what are your expectations? So you can write down some words. That's really free. So you can write what you prefer regarding the expectations that you have on this particular training on community banks. And as you can see, the link is always menti.com, and there is a new code that is 45796014. And please, you can start writing ideas, yeah? So you would like to have more information about international access, how to manage access? Yeah, that's good because we are going to deal with access and benefit sharing. Experiences, yes. Policies, yes. Open source legislation will be not really the topic of today, but yeah, that's interesting. Regulation in some way, yes. Breeding. Kostas, we have to be worried. Too many expectations.
Yeah,
and
it's good. It's good. I'm not afraid.
And we have just 1 hour to cope with all the expectations by participants. So you see, there are many, many questions that you would like to be addressed. That go from practical experiences to policy and legislation on access and benefit sharing, participatory plum breeding too. Oh, there is someone that wrote farmers' rights. Yeah, that's good. We have some slide dedicated to farmers' rights.
But it seems most of the topics of the interest is about policy, and it's your topic. So I think the weight would be there.
Yeah. No, there is also knowledge and breeding.
Knowledge, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that are quite relevant. So thank you very much for your ideas. And me and Kostas, we will do our best to cope, to answer to your expectations. But in any case, we can imagine to have another training, another meeting, another webinar, asking all the questions that will be not addressed today, this afternoon. So we have 180 responses, and I will pass the floor to Kostas for the next slide of this presentation. Thank you for answering to the polls.
So it seems that it's very ambitious today, but the good is that we have a lot of people that they want to deal about the concept of community seed banks. It seems that it's not, people are not familiar with this concept, and we will try to have some short introduction about the term. So the community seed banks, it's something different from the formal seed banks. It's a community-driven local community mechanism or organization that is or a seed repository with specialized functions to collect, store, multiply, and disseminate seeds. It's like a bank about seeds getting and disseminating and storing, and this some transactions being similar to the bank, but we have to deal with the seeds. So these community seed banks, these local community mechanisms, are part of the informal, unofficial seed system that is a system that is driven by the farmers. It's not like the formal, that it has to do with the trade, with the breeding, and the formal, all these formal institutions, and this has to deal with the seed that is dedicated to the activity of the community and the farmers. So I have some feedback from the seed saving. It's a traditional, it's so ancient activity. It goes back to the origin of agriculture, but the community seed banks, as we know now today, they had not much history, more than 40 or 50 years. So it started in 1970s in the global north, US and Canada, Australia, of networks and seed savers or organizational forms. They involve it as grassroots initiatives. It's community grassroots, and consisted of farmers or gardeners. And later, this idea dispersed in the South and Asia, Africa. It was linked with FAO projects, okay, in 1980s. They were established mainly with the support of international and national non-government organizations. But in Europe, there are some initiatives in UK and in Netherlands and Austria with Archinoa. So it was involved, and after 2000, the number has been increased in all countries. And we have, as regarding the operation, we have different examples of community seed banks. It would have the simple form of just de facto seed banks, an individual seed store at the house, or a garden level with a community. Maybe it will be some exchange banks, seed exchange or seed exchange festivals, no formality there. Or it would be some organized seed banks with an organized collection, storage and exchange. And we have also not only land traces, but some modern varieties, what is available to the community and the farmers. And these local seed banks will could form a network with where the exchange is organized and coordinated. So also the information on traditional varieties, it is communicated. Or there is another type. It's more traditional. It's the ritual seed banks. These banks are linked with the sacred groves and the religious forests, which put emphasis on sexually propagated ancient trees, and they are linked with local customs and tradition in some countries like Africa or India. What is very, very important is that the active members of these community seed banks, the heart is the women, and which are their main guardians and the collectors of seeds, and not only of the seeds, but also of the agriculture and the whole tradition of agriculture is that women play the crucial role of the culinary or also the seed saving activity. We have also a very diversification on governance and management. We have different types of governance. It's like the simple type. It's no formal governments. It's in the grassroots level, like it is still in Rwanda and Bolivia. In other examples, maybe you will find a volunteer board within a participatory seed network, as it is in Brazil, in Honduras, or in Mexico. In a more developed level, you could find an elected committee with a business plan and a locally developed regulatory framework, as it is in Bangladesh, Nepal, Nicaragua, Zimbabwe. Some of them are governed with the ideology of free access, open source, and seed sovereignty. They are very important terms for the resilience of the seed systems and the food systems also, as it is in Canada. In some countries, like in China, the community seed banks are controlled by the state or the public. But in Europe, usually there are informal networks or formal non-profit organizations like we are. And these community seed banks generally are part of this informal seed system that is rooted in civil society. But as we are aware, and we know very, very well that there is no legal support, and we like a strong government policy, and we are fighting about it. And maybe Riccardo will speak about it more thoroughly later. So I will stop sharing my screen, and I will pass the floor to Riccardo to give you an example of a survey. What is the status of the community seed banks in Europe? Riccardo?
Yeah, thank you, Kostas. Yeah, so I'm going to present to you a survey that we did within the European project Diversi-Food in 2017. So it's almost 10 years ago. So maybe if we find some money, we can also think to update this survey. The survey was conducted by Arkenoa, Rete Semi Rurali, and Resources Paesane, Rede Semillas. And we had 85 answers from different kind of actors that are referring to themselves as community banks. The first point that was already mentioned by Kostas, that we have different kind of also founders of the community banks or the organization managing a community bank. So in the group one, that is the one on the top, that is related mainly to Germany, Austria, all north of Europe. In this case, the founders, they were at the beginning almost private gardeners. The situation is different from the group two, that is located in France and Italy, where there are still gardeners, but farmers are more important. And then we have group three, where we have, as in the group two, farmers, but let's say other actors that are also important. So this slide was about founders of community banks at the beginning, kind of actors that founded community banks. And then what are the aims of community banks? As you can see, we have conserving as a classical gene bank, but we have also other activities that are not related to the classical gene banks, like breeding activities and sensibilization. And as you can see, at the beginning, the focus was a lot on conservation. And during the time, all the three groups, they expanded their activities towards breeding, for example. And regarding the sources, so the materials, the seeds that are stored, they are coming from founders, members, so could be other members of the network, but could be also gene banks. So access to public gene bank is something important, even in Europe, for our community banks. And then kind of categories of plants they are working with, that not so strange that community banks in Europe are mainly working with what we call landraces or farmers variety. There could be also old commercial varieties in some cases, and more, mainly in group 2, as you can see here in the figure, the red one, group 2, you see breeding materials, yeah? Because in group 2, we have more breeding activities within community banks. Today, the main activities are, of course, conservation, but you see the orange part, that it's about education and training. It means that community banks, they are playing also education and training activities, and they are raising awareness of the different actors involved on the importance of agrobiodiversity. And another part that is relevant is breeding. As you can see, breeding it's really important in group 2, but it's also relevant in group 1 and 3. Coming to type of plants, of course, mostly community banks, they are working with seeds. We have some that are working also with fruits or tubers, but mostly community banks, they are focusing their activities on seeds because also it's easy. And you see the sites of our community banks, and they are storing between 100 and 1,000 accessions. That's the average. And then, of course, we have big community banks with more than 10,000 accessions, but there are few. The type of plants they are working with, I would say all the agricultural species, so from cereals to horticultural species, vegetables, and you can see in group 3, Spain, vegetables are much more important than in other groups, for example. And in group 2, cereals, they are really important, and you have to link this data on the data that I presented before about breeding, because in group 2, they are doing a lot of activities of participatory blend breeding that are mainly focused on cereals and not a lot on vegetables. So, Kostas, it's your turn again. I stop sharing. You're muted, Kostas.
Yes, I muted my microphone. Okay. So you see my presentation now?
Maybe you can put in presentation mode, Kostas.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So now we will deal with the main activities of the community seed banks, and maybe we will stick on some important issues of the community seed banks that we think that are very linked with the breeding and the dynamic management. So what is very important for the community seed banks is the organization of collections and the documentation. Why is that? Because if we know which successions, for instance, we will know should be regenerated, and which regenerations are less urgent, or what are the consequences of not regenerating certain accessions, then we make a decision, and then we set the priorities, and we plan the activities, and we come to the action, which is the managing of the resources. So as the scope of the community seed bank is the dissemination also of the seeds, and we have to fulfill the scope of the informal seed system, that is to secure seed for the next growing season. We have to take a good decision. So the organization of the collection and documentation is very, very important. Some examples of these procedures. There are some similarities with the communities, with the seed banks, but it's not in this level. So we have a lot of activities that we may the seed that is coming to the community seed bank. We have some procedures of seed cleaning, about moisture content, drying, viability tests, and all these storage, packing, tracking, repropagation, and seed distribution. But these are operation procedures, and we think that scientific procedures, it could be good in order to have this decision we have in mind, so that characterization, evaluation, knowledge that, and selection and breeding data will be also good if we are able to have this information. So if we have to, for data collection and step-by-step recording of raw data, it would be good to have as a tool coding and use of descriptors. So some community seed banks use it, some not. But it would be good to have some data on the field, on the post-harvest data, on the location, soil and climate, and description of the variety of the land race, some simple descriptors or some more detailed. It's depending on the capacity of the community seed bank. And what is also very behavior, the disease, the tolerance to the diseases, insects, or resistances, and also adaptability to stress or to organic, and also the post-harvest characters like taste, shelf-life, and nutrients. This should be combined with the scientific knowledge, the local names, donors, and all this information would be good in order to have the propagation and the steps that is after the storage, and would be for dissemination and use. So now we have a lot of modern tools to do it. We have descriptors, we have cell phones, we have some simple visual tools to do it on farm. We may use volunteers, we may use some friends we have, or some scientists in the network, and we have some description and participatory evaluation. And this is very, very important. We mention a lot that is of great importance. Some community seed banks could have some simple tracking of the movement of the seeds, but it's very important. Some other community seed banks could have some experimentation and field tests, and have some more complex operations to get the data. But in all the both cases of the simple level and the more developed level, quality and safety controls are very, very essential. So it's very, very important that the quality of the seed and the sanitary level, basic sanitary level, will be of good quality. So all the seed leaving the community seed bank should be recorded, and it is very important the origin of the seed, and we keep it on paper or digitally. And what is important, we had it in the first unit today, That is, if we have to use to exchange seed with a more formal way than outside the community seed bank, we have to use the standard seed transfer agreement, and it is strongly recommended to use it. So, speaking about the dynamic management of plant genetic resources, sometimes we confuse it or we have some misunderstanding. It's very important that the land races and all these varieties and seeds we have in the coming in the community seed banks, but it's not enough. It's like a static process. We can keep this, we conserve like it is, have in the refrigerator, but what we want is a dynamic process, that is a management that is linked also with the selection or with the more upgraded level of diversity on these seeds. We want our seeds to be pure as the land races are as it is, but as the farmer does it all the year from ancient years until now. It is the process of selection, of the process of the use, them upgrading the diversity, and so these two terms, conservation and management, dynamic management, is complementary. We want both activities, and this is why we want both activities, because we want our seeds to be evoluted and not stated as it is in a static process, like it is in an ordinary. So, evolution of crops, diversity, we want adaptation to climate change, so we secure the food systems and work for resilience of the food systems, and this is the way that the local seeds can thrive and the small farmers survive with an updated form of the seed. So on-farm conservation and crop diversification are very, very important. On-farm is a type of conservation that is dynamic versus the in situ, the conservation that will have that in gene banks. Of the farmer, and this allows the process of evolution under natural and human selection. But also we want this agrobiodiversity to be evoluted in different forms in our farms, so we can have different types of diversification, not only the type of the seed or in the type of different varieties, but also different crops, different mixtures of crops, heterogeneous materials, but also species that are combined in the farm. So the farm is diversified. And so these both activities, on-farm will lead to a maximum of diversity in our farms. So we are thinking that the most high level of diversity is the composite cross of self-pollinated species, the populations, and we need for this some particular breeding efforts to breed this broader genetic base. These breeding are very important elements for the community seed banks, and we want to enrich our activities with these breeding activities. So we speak about evolutionary breeding, that is crop populations with level of genetic diversity that are subject to the process of natural selection, and they have the capacity to the conditions under which they are grown. And we are speaking about organic breeding, participatory it's more a collective decision in group process. We share responsibility and accountability. It's not we have the field in the farmers, the testing in the farmers, but we decide with the farmer and not only the farmer. We have a lot of examples that a lot of stakeholders of the community are taking part on this decision. And other than participatory organic breeding, we have a selection, we have really seeds that are adapted to organic conditions, local adapting conditions. So that is because we fulfill the organic breeding aims, that is the sustainable use of genetic resources and the dynamic of the whole agro ecosystem. And we want organic plant breeding in our community banks because they improve agrobiodiversity and it helps us to sustainably use the plant genetic resources. So, and this is my last slide about this part. They have an example of a community-based breeding for durum wheat in France, where Dominique disclosed of INRA is this issue with not only the farmers, but breeders, consumers, sociologists, all these processes on farm. And this is a collegial process. And this selection of durum wheat is coming also to the market, and we have a lot of examples like in heterogeneous material, and maybe will speak about it. So all these processes are very important, and that's why community seed banks are linked with the dynamic management of plant genetic resources on farm, conservation, and participatory organic evolutionary breeding. So I now give the floor to my colleague Riccardo. Riccardo.
Yeah, thank you, Kostas. And I will ask you another question. Could you see my screen? Yes. So we would like to know from you what kind of bottlenecks, problems you see in Europe related to community seed banks development. You have to use, as before, the same menti.com website, and there is another code that is 28782170. So it's free. You can start writing your ideas about bottlenecks or problems. I have seen that there are on the chat questions related to access to varieties conserved or managed by community banks. So maybe that could be a problem. So please feel free to add, then finance. Yeah, that's really maybe the most important. Financial instability. Yeah, I can agree with you. Because as I said in the chat, community banks are not recognized by policymakers or the EU and national legislation in Europe on plant genetic resources for food and agriculture, so they are not funded by public money usually. So lack of cooperation, of course, yeah. Regulation, yes, that could be a problem. Patenting, yeah. I see licenses, okay, that's also important. Many answers related to money, funding, financial support, and legal bottlenecks. Some also raise the issue of seed health. Yeah, that of course is relevant, as said before by Kostas. And then I see protected varieties. Yeah, so thank you very much for providing us your ideas. And some of the bottlenecks that you mentioned will be addressed in the second part of the presentation of this afternoon by me. So you can, I mean, we are 66 responses. So maybe we can move on to the second part of the presentation. Thank you very much. And so I will try to give some ideas about how to manage varieties from a legal point of view. Yeah, was also some of the question raised in the chat. And as you can see, I will refer to a technical manual on community banks that we published together with the European Coordination Let's Liberate Diversity, and that you can find on the website. And if you need some copies in English, we have, so please don't hesitate to ask. So first of all, we have to realize that regarding plant genetic resources, we are dealing with two different worlds. In one side, we have the CBD, so the Convention on Biological Diversity, and the Nagoya Protocol agreed within the CBD. And in this case, we have bilateral agreements for access have access to material stored or conserved by different kind of people. And then we have the International Treaty on Plant Genetic Resources, the ITPGRFA, that is dealing with crops, not only the one in Annex 1, that is the list of crops that are in the multilateral system according to the treaty, so agreed within the treaty. But in Europe, we are considering also non-Annex 1 crop under the treaty. So it means that all these crops, they are managed with the easiest MTA of the treaty. So the standard material transfer agreement developed by the treaty and not by bilateral agreements such as Nagoya. So our resources, we have seen, we are working with landraces or old varieties. They are mainly in public domain from a intellectual property right point of view. But of course, if we are developing, as said before by Kostas, new population, new organic heterogeneous material, they are still in public domain, so they cannot be protected by any intellectual property rights we have right now. So either the UPOV system or the patent system, but you can use additional clauses to easiest MTA or private agreement in some way to protect new farmers varieties developed by community banks. That's a general scheme regarding community banks, and regarding access, you have to pay attention if the materials that you have in your bank was received by or through an easiest MTA. In this case, you have to give this material using another easiest MTA to your provider, or if your materials was received without an easiest MTA. So you see here the different possibilities that you have, and what are our recommendations are that first, if you are working with, as a community banks, with research organization, universities, public research centers, and moreover, private research centers, it's important to sign an easiest MTA when you are giving your materials to them. In case of direct use by farmers, there is no need to sign an easiest MTA between the community banks and the farmers that are receiving the materials, but you can develop your dedicated material transfer agreement very easy for traceability purposes. And then in case you are giving your seeds or your materials for research that is not agricultural research, so pharmaceutical or cosmetic, whatever, in this case, you have to use Nagoya. And if you look to the manual, the last recommendation that we give is that before deciding what kind of agreements you can use, the best thing is to contact your national focal point in order to ask about, for example, Nagoya implementation in your country. Because Nagoya is a matter not regulated by the European Union, but it's national governments that are dealing with Nagoya implementation in different countries. So what we have to define as a community banks are the rules that we would like to use in our organization, first for managing the access from farmers. Do we have specific agreements that farmers that are not members of the community banks, they are signed or not? So how material is collected. The second one is how material is provided to different kinds of providers. And so we can develop different rules for farmers, direct use, scientists, researchers, or other actors or users. So that's really important. So regarding community banks and the treaty, I will give you some ideas that we can discuss later on. First, under the treaty, we have Article 9. The International Treaty on Plant Genetic Resources is managed by the FAO. And last year, they had the 20 years from when the treaty was approved. And one of the most important articles is Article 9, that is dealing with farmers' rights, as you know. And so we have 9.1 about recognition, and then 9.2 that it's about traditional knowledge, equitable participation in sharing benefits, and then we have participation in making decision, and then the right that farmers have to save, use, exchange, and sell propagating materials, subject to national law and as appropriate. So that's one of the most let's say, important and also delicate article of the treaty. Community banks, as you have seen, they are dealing with many aspects of this Article 9. At the moment, it's also important to know that there is, within the treaty, an ad hoc technical expert group on farmers' rights that 2 years ago, they released the options for encouraging, guiding, and promoting the realization of farmers' rights. And if you go to this book that you can find on the treaty webpage, you see that community banks, they are mentioned as experience, and they can play an important role in implementing farmers' rights at national level. And this group is still working. I am one of the 5 experts nominated by the European Union that is in this group. So if you would like to have more information about the work that we are doing, please ask me. And the next meeting of the group will be in June, and we will prepare the second global symposium on farmers' rights that will be in September 2025. I think in Manila, and then the next governing body of the treaty that will be November 2025 in Peru. Yeah, and you can find more information on this link. And then another topic that is related to to our activities and to community banks is Article 6. 5 and 6. 5 is about conservation, and 6 is about sustainable use. As you can see here, there are activities dealing with conserving and preserving land races, traditional crop, but also participatory plant breeding with farmers, and all activities that are done by community banks, as we have seen. Regarding sustainable use, conservation and sustainable use, as for farmers' rights, there is ad hoc technical committee on conservation and sustainable use within the treaty, And I put here the terms of reference because maybe it could be relevant for you, because this year we are going to start dealing with voluntary guidelines at the international level about conservation and sustainable use. So it's just a starting point. We just started this discussion, and I say we because I'm also in this working in this ad hoc technical committee, and I mean, maybe not 2026, but in 2027, 28, there will be these voluntary guidelines in the end. If you would like to have more information, you can write to me. So where are we going as a community banks in Europe? The first point, I think it's important, we have to discuss together what does mean implementing farmers' rights in Europe. What do we have common vision on farmers' rights in Europe? Then the second point is that for us, not only money is relevant in relation to benefit sharing, but also non-monetary measure of benefit sharing. As you can see, there are many non-monetary measures of benefit sharing that our governments, they can implement related to the treaty, that are related to our activities, training, farmers' participation, facilitate access to plant genetic resources, participatory plant breeding, on farm conservation. They are all measures non-monetary of benefit sharing that could be important for community banks in Europe. Then the second thing that we have to discuss together, what kind of place for community banks we can see in this scheme that is presenting plant genetic resources for food and agriculture in Europe. As you can see, we have many actors: PGR, the Edges Collection, Eurisco, the Global Crop Diversity Trust. How we can put community banks in this picture? What kind of role we can have, if any, and if we would like to be in connection with national institution dealing with PGRFA in Europe. That's another point that we need to discuss. And then the third point, it's about, you see here a more detailed description of seed systems. We developed this in Italy, in Rete Semirurali, within the project Diversi Food. And you see here that we put community banks as an important player between diversity farmers and public gene bank. So they can develop participatory plant breeding activities, but they also can help farmers to have access to accession conserved by public gene banks. Yeah? That's also the usual question that we have raised by farmers. I ask seeds to public gene banks, and they give me back only 10 grams. Yeah, because they can give you only 10 grams because they have only 10 grams. That's not their role to give you more. But we can use community banks to multiply the seeds coming from public gene banks or seed banks, and then give to the farmers more than 10 grams to farming activities. So how we can put community banks in these diversified seed systems? So community banks, as I said before, could be in between ex situ and on-farm conservation, helping to make ex situ working with on-farm and vice versa. So I finish my presentation. I give the floor back to Kostas for conclusion, and then we have the discussion.
Thank you, Riccardo. So I may conclude some sentences, but I hope that you have understood that the community seed bank is not so simple. We have a lot of it's a multi-level, multitask approach, and we have to deal with a lot of things. And thanks to Riccardo, we may understood the role of the community seed bank and the regulations. So I may conclude that community seed banks are very, very important as institutions because they provide direct access to locally adapted varieties and also to farmers' selections, because it's not, people don't know that there are not only the land races that we conserve in the community seed banks. We also deal with the farmers' selections, and the farmer selections is the updated form of agrobiodiversity that is needed for the resilience of the food systems and to address the climate change impact and the market pressures. So very important, this activity, and also the on-farm conservation and dynamic management, both are very important and complementary approaches. And both are supporting the evolution of agrobiodiversity, and this evolution and broadening of genetic base of the seeds and the plants are supported also with the breeding. Breeding could be evaluation, pre-breeding, selection, or a core breeding scheme, but it could be participatory in a participatory mode. It could be under the community seed bank networks and help the sustainable use of plant genetic resources. Another conclusion would be that is the role of the informal farmer seed systems are very important, and what is lacking is that this role is underestimated. It is not recognized yet by the system and by the people. So we know we want and we need an appropriate and enabling political and legal environment. So we will breathe as community seed banks, and we will do our role as scientists, as farmers, and this system is very important and could be complementary to the formal one. And the last one is that the implementation of farmers' rights are very important, and so in terms of recognition, participation in decision-making, benefit sharing, and the development of supportive policy and favorable regulatory legislative frameworks for seeds. So it's very important, and all our effort also would be to have the implementation of the farmers' rights under the treaties, and to see how these farmers' rights could be implemented in the local laws, and we are expecting the new seed law also to have certain provisions for the farmers' rights. So these are the conclusions. So what's next? We have some questions for you. It's not for homework, but what we want from you today is just to have some incentives or on dealing more with the community seed bank concept, how you can contribute. So the first is that if you have understood that there is a difference between the regular seed banks and community seed banks, if you are aware of these differences, and also ideas how community seed banks can be significantly improved and be sustainable, or these ideas are very welcome for us. And also it could be very good to know that if you are aware of a community seed bank running close to you, and you have some experiences, or you want to have some experiences, so we are open. And so you can put your questions and doubts on the chat, and if we have some time at the end, maybe we can answer some questions or you can send to me or to Petra, also to Petra, and we can send you back some answers or some ways that you can be involved also. How continue to work collectively on community seed banks? Riccardo, are you ready to share the Mentimeter?
Yeah, thank you, Kostas. That's also part of, let's say, the last piece of activities that we are going to do together. It's another survey for you because we would like to create a kind of community of practices working on CSB that will continue to be in contact after this training. So the question for you is, do you have any idea for continue to work together on community banks? Yeah, that could be, we can have, I don't know, dedicated web page. We can have another survey. We can have a mailing list. I mean, tools that can help to stay together. So you have to go to Mentimeter another time. That's the last time I promised you. And you can give us some ideas. Yeah. I have a question in the chat. So maybe the same time that you are providing to the Mentimeter ideas, how to manage this work all together in the future, I can answer to a question related to dedicated material agreement different from the easiest MTA. What is it and how does it work? In our experience in Italy, we develop some specific agreement for giving seeds to our farmers for direct use. We are not obliged to use the easiest MTA of the treaty because we are under direct use, so no obligation. But it's important for us because we have a database and we are, let's say, collecting information, as said before by Costa. So it's important to have traceability of what is going in and out from the database. And so we have a specific agreement that farmers or, let's say, gardeners, they have to sign. That it's very easy. It's mainly to understand who they are and where they are, and also some clauses that they cannot, for example, protect or privatize them. Yeah. So that's the type of specific agreement that we are doing for direct use. At the same time, we would like to develop specific agreements for materials under development. That it means the easiest MTA plus other clauses that we can add. Yeah, then let me check. Yeah, we have 35 answers how to continue to work together. And our awareness raising campaign, that could be, someone mentioned the triadic evaluations. Yeah, well, so we have really experienced people in this workshop, in this webinar. Money, it's also an issue. And yeah, I agree that if you would like to create a community of practice for community banks, we need to have some public money to maintain this community. And someone said networking platform, social network account, more training. Yeah, we can do more training. Workshops was mentioned also. Website. So yeah, maybe we can create a website, putting together all the different community banks, and we can ask our friends of the European coordination, Let's Celebrate Diversity, if they would like to develop such a website. And then meet CSB representatives. Yeah, that's also important. And cooperation with teachers. Yeah. Connecting CSB. We have already some kind of connection for CSB, but maybe it's not too much. We can improve it. A WhatsApp channel. Yeah, that could be. Maybe not WhatsApp. Maybe we can use Signal. And yeah, different ideas. Joining efforts with academia. Yeah, that's also important. There are volunteers that offer time. Yeah, that could be also something. But already in community banks, there are a lot of volunteers. In many cases, the activities of community banks, they are not paid or not all paid, but they are based a lot on volunteers. Yeah, let me check about the questions. Yeah, connecting different CSB in a common database. Yeah. Okay. So it seems that social media, it's most important word coming from the survey. Social media, citizen science, yeah, it's something that we would like to do all together. And we already have some Horizon project like LiveSeeding, where we are developing some citizen science tools. Yeah, a public financing. Yeah, that's also something really important. Because at the moment, as I said before, community banks, they are not recognized, so they don't have any kind of public money for their work, even if they are important. So we collected 58 answers. Thank you. Yeah, Christian also in the chat said that we can move from WhatsApp to Telegram, other kind of, yeah, social media. Thank you. Yeah, noted your comment in the chat. Yeah. Kostas, would you like to add something and then to present also the resources that we have on the web that they can have a look?
Yeah, it seems that public awareness and it's more important to raise, so public, the social media can play a role. All these are very important, and we will take it into account. So I will provide some information about material. So you can find these three technical manuals series on community, the website of Let's Liberate Diversity, an outcome of the Diversity Project, and are very important that maybe we can find some opportunity to translate in the other languages, maybe next period of time. So you can visit the site and you can download this very
Kostas,
important. Yeah.
I think that on the website of the coordination, we have already the English, the French, the Italian.
Yeah, and maybe more. Yeah,
maybe it's lacking the Greek version.
Yeah, we will do it. Full link and materials in the Diversity Food site about the community biodiversity management and community seed banks in Europe. And also I have some links here, not only the Let's Liberate Diversity organization and the Diversity Food. You may enter the FAO website and see about the treaties, and also this very good website on the farmers' rights organization. You can find a lot of information, updated information. Somebody said that if there is some directory on community seed banks, you can find some directories on these websites. There is also the Balkan Seed Network we're working on, not yet the website, but we will have it from the Balkan Seed Network. And also you can visit the InnoBreed, and you can it's a project, a sister project of LiveSeeding, where is about the organic fruit breeding, and you can see initiatives where communities and other participatory breeding select their varieties, fruit varieties, and there are a lot of examples in Europe, in Belgium, France, and Germany. So these are, and also I have this information about the diversity paths for seeds and migrants. It's ongoing, and we will have some material.